And with that, we are ready to begin. I'm going to introduce you to your lovely panelists, presenters, Prerna and Anish. They are going to be talking a little bit about how to maintain an online outreach platform while maintaining in-person outreach presence. You guys can take it away.
Thank you, Stephen. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen real quick. Okay, so thank you so much for joining our presentation today, and we are pretty excited to share this information with you guys. We're from Team 2974, Walton Robotics. My name is Prerna.
My name is Anish Sankurstri.
And this is just a little bit about us. So we're an FRC team from Marietta, Georgia, and we're based in Walton High School. And this is just a session overview. So we'll be talking what constitutes a strong outreach team, how to manage outreach events, both online and in person, and communications, and some advice about that. So in order to build a strong outreach team, we usually start right like in the summer, before school even starts. And so what we do during that time is we assess the skill set of our team, meaning that we try to see what our team's interests are and what they are good at. So when we do outreach events, we can have a general idea of who will be leading what. So we usually do this by sending out surveys, and some questions that we ask are you good at programming? Or how comfortable are you with Java, Python? Or are you good at Arduinos? And are you interested in a certain outreach event? So that is generally like the best way that we assess the skill set. And then we also do a lot of outreach management planning before the school year starts. That way we can see what our goals are for the year and what events we really need to focus on. And so training and culture is another really emphasized aspect of our team, not just in outreach, but for all departments. But generally for outreach this year, definitely we had to emphasize it a lot more because we came back from an online culture back to an in-person culture. And now we have to rebuild that culture of how to transition from online events to in-person events. And what are some of the best behaviors for those. So some training that we do would be like code of conduct, something like behavioral expectations, like what to wear, how to interact with a certain group of people that you're trying to reach. Things like how to behave and no phones during outreach events. Logistical stuff like that. And then we also like to give our team members a brief description of how to work with different audiences. So for example, if we're preparing for an ASP event where we work mainly with elementary school kids, we'll teach them how do you interact with elementary school kids, how do you engage them in the activity, and how do you really just interest them and really reach them. So then we put the emphasis on the impact that our team has. So for example, we are really fortunate to have a very supportive community, and our only way to really give back to it is through outreach. And we want to make sure that our team members know that outreach is really important and that we really have to emphasize on whatever we do because we have to give back to the community. And we have to show them that they have a unique impact on the community. And that generally gets them interested in outreach and more willing to participate. So then for training wise, like when to conduct trainings, I would suggest during team meetings, or you can split up trainings so that, for example, if you have one outreach event or outreach idea that you really want to touch on, that's really important, you can do a training during the team meeting just for that. And then later on, if it's a more specialized and less used outreach activity, you usually do that and train people on that. So last week, we just trained our team members on how to use Arduinos and some activities that we do with Arduinos, because we only use that for like 2 of our events. but we still want people to know how to use it in case if we decide to do it. And then the week before that, we trained our group on how to do on how to use spheros and how to drive them. And even though we use them for like 1 or 2 activities, it's still important to know, but not as important as other things to know. So that's one way to go about training. Another way would be if you have a certain activity that can totally be done online, you can make a training video on it. You don't really have to do it in team meetings. And this just this just saves a little bit more time. And also you can assign some quizzes at the end for the trainings that you do. So these are just some basic general ideas that you can go off of. And organization-wise, we use platforms like Slack for communication. That is just to, connect with everyone on the team or just a select few people. It's very professional. It's an organized platform. So if you aren't using it, I would highly suggest you should. And then we use Google Calendar for advertising our outreach events to our team members so that they know like what day is what outreach event and when they can sign up for it. And it's just another great organizational tool. And then for documentation wise, we use Google Drive to store pictures or videos for any that we take during any outreach events. That way, in case we need it for chairmans, we can go ahead and access it. So another great organizational tool. And then Canvas is great for putting training videos and quizzes and any other documents that are just really important and you really don't want to put them in Slack. So we use this for all departments mainly, but outreach, we also use it too. So these are just some ideas for organization, training, culture, and what to do before kickoff. And now I'll be handing it over to Anish.
Morning, everyone. So today we're talking about how to readjust. So I know we all just came back from, and we still are in a global pandemic, and we had to just we're slowly weeding towards a face-to-face culture apart from a virtual culture. So these are some strategies and tips to slowly readjust. So what we've been doing recently is that we've been starting small. So now instead of having full virtual events, we would have some face-to-face events. So every Friday night at our school during a football game, we would have stalls set up where we teach any audience members for the football game, such as young kids or elder adults who are interested, how to do several STEM activities ranging in difficulty. We start with the youngest who are able to make small paper rockets out of paper straws and normal paper and paper clips. And we go to our intermediate, which is where they make a catapult out of spoons, rubber bands, and tongue depressors. And then we go to our highest activity, which is creating and fabricating a circuit given instructions. So this is just one small step that we've taken from being fully virtual, and we still aren't kind of discontinuing all our virtual ideas, because we know that even though we still have face-to-face, we can only do it in a limited number. So we can only have a limited number of participants. So even though we want some ideas to be implemented as face-to-face, we still have to think of it as logistically, like how do we keep people 6 feet apart during this event and everything. So we slowly start this. We have another activity that we do that is face-to-face where we teach kids during our web workshops, is where we teach kids some similar STEM activities where they get to play with small sphero robots, where they get to learn how to create simple machines and everything. Again, we're just slowly implementing this back in so that we're coming back to our normal face-to-face culture. But I can also give some examples on which we had a virtual culture. So during our virtual culture, we had several camps run that have been very successful. I think our first one was our CAD camp and our girls' first CAD camp, in which we taught students how to make computer-aided designs during a live Zoom meeting. So how that would work is any participant who's interested would join our live Zoom meeting, and then we would share our screen on which we were presenting how to do this or how to make a part in AutoCAD. And then we would encourage them to learn alongside with us, ask questions and everything. And it was very comfortable it was very comfortable because we didn't have to be face to face with each other, but they were still learning the material. And at the end, we had a little show and tell on any problems they had in real life, and they could tell us how they fixed it with their CAD design. Another face-to-face camp was our Mission to Mars camp, in which we taught kids the logistics and engineering behind the latest Perseverance mission, and and we taught them how the logistics behind this, how it's planned years in advance to launch a rover to Mars, and what new equipment's on that rover. Again, we had a lot of participants during this event, so it would just not work logistically if it was a face-to-face event, but it worked out virtually because the kids were still being attentive during the class, and they were still learning, and they were visually showing that they were learning. And our most recent online workshop was our Minecraft camp, in which we had a lot of participants that we could not bring face to face. So what we did is we encouraged the kids to download a version of Minecraft for themselves, and then join our server, in which it was almost a face-to-face environment, because they would watch our avatars do stuff almost close as their avatars were, instead of sharing our screens. And we would run examples while they could watch it, and we can watch them, and we can guide them using the in-game chat or using the Zoom meeting. And we're just slowly assimilating back into that face-to-face culture, in which we can slowly bring in more and more participants into the event. We've slowly started implementing our face-to-face ideas back into our curriculum for our virtual camps, and in other way too. We've also slowly started assimilating our virtual curriculum back into our face-to-face curriculum. Oh no, we still haven't discontinued, and we're doing a mix of both. Now I'm going to hand it off to Saahir.
I'm actually going to quickly add something about teachers real quick. So one great way to be involved locally and to really and to get back into in-person events is to really reach out to teachers in your school. So for example, we did a CAD camp for teachers as well, and teachers would sign up for Learning Fusion 360, and we taught them, we basically went through the same lessons that we did with kids. And it's great because when you impact teachers, they are able to teach this material to students and basically multiply that whole effect that we're trying to get. So teachers are a great way to spread that impact. And in fact, we had a teacher from Florida register for that CAD camp, and he is now using it for his own robotics team. So it's great. It's great to see that impact happen. And so yeah, I will pass it off to Saahir now.
Hi, I'm Saahir, and I'm going to talk about the communication side of this presentation, where I'm going to talk about managing your digital footprint and why it's very important in today's day. So a digital footprint is your shadow on what you can be traced digitally online, and what actions or contributions that you made on the internet. So pretty much your digital impact, essentially. And one thing that's really important is that not many people know that what you post on the internet is essentially never deleted. So this is extremely important, as obviously college admissions are rolling around, and I know many people will be applying in the next few years, and um, your college admissions officers, or even your job people who are looking to hire you in the future, can look at your social media when they're considering you as an employee or even as an applicant. So you need to be extremely mindful on what you post on the internet and what your digital footprint is like, because if it's very negative, it's not going to really benefit you in a good way. And this is just a quick little graphic on what you should really be doing every time you decide to post something on the internet, and just checking over and making sure that you're really mindful about things goes a very long way. Just checking over to see if it could be easily misinterpreted, as you may be thinking you're posting something with one idea, but if someone easily misconstrues what you're saying and thinks quite the opposite, that's not going to really look good on you. And also make sure that you are not really in anger when you're posting something, because when you become emotional, sometimes you don't really make the right decisions. So make sure you're in a good state of mind when you're posting something, and make sure you're not disrespecting people, because again, just like someone could misinterpret what you're saying, someone could easily be disrespected with what you say, even if you don't have that intention. And just stuff like this is really important, and again, goes a really long way. So back earlier when I said you could be searched or traced by a digital footprint, this means that you can be, again, like it says, you could be easily found. A simple Google search of your name can pop up on certain things you post and your background. And again, even if the post is good or bad in nature, or even if you kind of like regret what you post, it's not going to go away, and it can and will be found by people who want to find it, like college admissions, or again, job interviews. And this will create a bad reputation for yourself if something on your profile or related to you can be found in a public place. And these are some statistics I found related to people looking at your digital footprint. And 63% of people who are hiring decided not to hire an applicant in the past because they found something questionable on their social media. So, in the survey taken by this data, 63% of people were disregarded because of their digital footprint. And that just shows how important this is, and how, again, how significant it is for you to be mindful on what you do online. So I'm just gonna give it back to Prerna and we can just wrap things up.
All right, thank you. So that is pretty much it. That is what we had today. And we're open to any questions. Thank you so much for listening. And hopefully we were able to share some ideas and some insights on how to get back from a really, really tough year to in person. And yeah.
Again, we're open to any questions, so please don't hesitate to ask.
This is Connie with Georgia First Robotics. First of all, amazing presentation, and I love the digital footprint part. I think I would like to be able to share this with people at my age group, because I think they need that reminder more than probably you guys, because you know what to do with that digital online presence. But I do have a question for you guys. When you're talking about your online outreach, and I know that we'd love to be back in person, and we're all hoping for that day to get here soon, but as we continue our online outreach with camps or training modules or workshops, how does your team go about advertising for online offerings, anything that you're doing in your community? How do you get the word out to your community? Because that seems to be a disconnect for a lot of our teams.
So I can quickly answer part of this, and I can hand it off to Saahir since he does a lot of the advertising. But what we usually do is, we're still trying to figure out how, like, when to really advertise, like what is the perfect day to advertise. And so what we usually do is, if it's a school event, we will put it in, we'll have our mentor put it in we'll have Saahir make a flyer for it, and we'll get that back, and then we'll put it in the school newspaper, or the PTSA e-blast, or the announcements at school. And then we also have there's also a Facebook group where we can put this sort of information in. I think Saahir can give more insight on that too.
Yeah, going off of what Prerna said, making sure you effectively reach out to your target audience is something that we're still trying to perfect, and really get better at. But the main focus is really identifying who you're trying to reach with your advertising or your outreach for the outreach event, if you will. So one thing we do is we first identify who we really want. So say if it's one of our outreach events like Friday Night Robots, which is a new initiative we just started, um, we figure out if we really want middle school students, elementary school students, or high school students, and then from there we'll find a better way to reach them. So if we need to find middle school students for this event and make sure they know what's happening, we found a good way is, like she said, the Facebook blast or our PTSA blast, and this reaches to their parents, and as well as we also like Instagram because parents of these children are on Instagram. So to make it really accessible, we came up with the idea of creating our own hashtag Friday Night Robots hashtag, so we could easily access and so they could actually easily access and find information related to this event. And like she also said, we also have weekly PTSA blasts, and this reaches an extremely large amount of parents and as well as students. So a week before our event, we send a quick little blurb and a quick screenshot of what we're going to plan to do this week. And that's one really easy way we can spread the word. And lastly, again, we have the Instagram post of our flyer, and we generate a flyer close to 4 or 5 days before the event so we can get the word out so it's not exactly last minute, and that's a really good way you can connect with the audience you're looking for.
That's fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. And I do see that there's another follow-up question off of something what you mentioned, and it was something I was going to ask as well. So Stephen, if you want to pick up that question.
Yeah, for sure. One of our participants, Randy, asks, how many members run the Friday night event and where do they run it?
So the Friday night event, we have around 5 to 6 members running the event. And since we run it during a football game, it will be like outside the football field, like outside where the players are, near the concession area, and that's where a lot of kids come. So yeah.
Going off of what Prerna said, pretty much there's the entrance to our stadium before the football game, and we found that setting up our tables right in front of the actual entrance, but where everyone walks by, has a lot of foot traffic, and you can see a lot of people have to go by our table to get to the stands. So us setting up there really improved how many people we really had showing up.
That is a fantastic idea. And I can see this translating even to the other traditional sports within your school when it switches over to basketball and different things like that. So it's a great outreach opportunity. Another thing I want to ask you about, make sure we're good on time. We're still good on time. You mentioned teacher camps and that you had teachers, even one as far away as Florida. I love that idea because as more that we can share with our teachers, the more they can translate that type of learning into their classroom. So I'm going to throw that question back again. How did you advertise to teachers? Were they only within the cluster of your school? And I'm going to kind of maybe say not because you had a Florida teacher, but how did you advertise for teacher training?
So this is a great question. Thank you so much. So we had this STEMapalooza event in, I think it was early June, and that's when a lot of teachers come in and attend events that talk about how to introduce more STEM into classrooms. And we talked about how do you introduce CAD and programming in your classroom environment. And we had planned a teacher event, a teacher CAD camp during that time. So we took it as a great opportunity to advertise a sign up for that camp during that event. And we gave out flyers also. And so that's how most of the teachers signed up. And the way we had a teacher from Florida sign up was he was trying to find some CAD courses online so that he could take back to his robotics team and teach. And since we have a Canvas page of all of our course material, he found that on Google when he was trying to search it up. And so he emailed me, and then we were able to get him signed up. So that is the way we basically advertised the teacher events.
That's fabulous. So you're using the platform already of what your school system is doing when they bring teachers together. Great way to get a lot of them involved and let them know that you guys are out there and what you can offer them in ways of increasing their knowledge in STEM. So I love that idea. Fabulous. And it looks like we have another question coming in, so I'll turn it back over to Stephen. Okay, my apologies. Those are just endorsements for you guys of how amazing everything you're presenting, great ideas. We're going to take this back to our team, so some great things going on there. I'm going to throw one out to you that will make you think for a second on the question. Of all the outreach you do, because you do a lot, this is your team is very active in outreach, and Georgia First and First as a whole benefits greatly from what you do. What do you think is the most successful outreach that you do in terms of it's easy to execute, but offers or yields the best results in terms of what you're trying to achieve, whether it's new team members or new sponsors or new mentors? What is the most successful event that you do each year?
Wow, that is definitely a question that I would think on. But so far for this year, I think the most successful one was the Girls First CAD Camp that we had in April, because we were able to get girls apply to our robotics team when we were like recruiting other members. And now we have a few girls that attended that camp on our robotics team. And now they're like pretty interested in CAD, and now they're on more the engineering side of the team, which is great because we always want to increase that percentage. And I would say another really great successful outreach event would be our Friday night robots. And while we're still figuring out what time we have to be there, how many people, and we're still experimenting with it, the amount of kids we get to see, we get to do activities with them. It's a lot, and it's great to see that we have that effect, and that every time we do an Arduino activity with one of the kids, they're always so excited about it. They're always so when they see that their program works, it's just awesome to see like how excited they get. And so I think that in terms of reaching out towards the community, our Friday Night Robots is one of the best ways to do it. And then in terms of getting kids interested in robotics and FIRST, and seeing how to increase the team members on our team, and how to get that I guess recruitment, CAD camps would be the best way to do that. So I hope I answered your question.
You did. Fantastic. I think those are things that you guys are going to stick with because you're getting good results for. I like that you are having targeted outreach when you needed to recruit girls. You had a girls event, and targeting is a really good way to look at that. If I'm needing people to join my marketing team. Maybe I'm targeting some type of outreach toward students that are in the marketing classes at school that can show them that we're way beyond robots. And in fact, you may not even have to ever interact with a robot, but just come build us a killer marketing program. So I love that idea, the targeting, and as well as the outreach in terms of numbers like you have at your football games. Love the idea. And it looks like a lot of people in chat also like that Friday, Friday, I want to say Friday Night Lights, and it's not that. Friday Night Robots is fantastic. Great job. Great job. Stephen, I don't know if you had any additional questions or if the team had any kind of like wrap up, but I'll turn it to Stephen first and see if there's any additional questions.
I don't think so. I guess the only thing that comes to mind is how do you manage super large scale events? Like I'm sure you have at least a couple once or twice a year where you have an impact of a couple hundred people. How exactly do you manage that when your outreach member to outreach attendee ratio is super large?
This is also another really good question. So in the past year before, COVID, we had that big turnout for attendees. And I think the best way that we managed it was we had to get every single person on the team involved. And whether they wanted to or not, doesn't matter. They have to get involved. We have a lot of people that want to do that want to participate in this outreach event. So we need to make sure that we get this event to a level that is enjoyable, is interactive, and is impactful. So we had to get everyone on the team participating in that event. And in order to, in order to get people interested in the first place is making outreach, like making sure they know the impact of outreach and know that what sort of individual impact they hold to the team and therefore contributing to outreach. So it gets them more likely to participate and have everyone on the team engaged to participate in events that usually have like 50 or 100 attendees for the event. And so that was like before COVID, but now after COVID, of course, like we can't really do more than 20 or 30 people. And even that sounds pretty dangerous because of how dangerous the virus is. But we try to, we're trying to, especially for the normal girls first event that we hold, that's usually the really big one where we have like a bunch of middle school girls come. Now we're trying to think about, okay, how do we still have the same engaging activities, but how do we still reach that amount of girls? And the best way to do it is split workshops up and do it online. So I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, that was great. Thank you.
Absolutely, Prerna. I think one of the important things about what you just talked about, large group management, so Stephen, that was a great question, is that to make sure your team members realize that whether you are the host of the event and you have the microphone in your hand, or you are the one that is crowd control and making sure that the people are where they're supposed to be, they know what their role is as a participant. All of those different levels of roles within that day are just as important as the person with the microphone. So helping your team members realize that's what will put on a great event. And guys, we're all fingers crossed, toes crossed, whatever we can cross, that we are back to full tilt in person, because we know that's where the biggest impact comes from, and we're working toward that. We're getting there. So everybody, keep the faith that we're going to be there soon.
Yep, I agree. We'll get there. We'll get there soon.
Absolutely. So I think maybe a last call for Q&A, and then we'll let this group have a little bit of a break between the next sessions. They may want to join themselves. So Stephen, I don't know if you have any other questions.
I'm all good here.
Okay, so first of all, amazing. I literally wrote notes. I love it when I learn from people. Always be a lifelong learner, and I just learned quite a bit from you guys that I will take forward, and I'm sure all the participants did as well. So thank you to our presenters for making this session so amazing. So Prerna and Anish and Saahir, thank you for taking time on this Saturday morning. These are the kind of things you have to do as a team. This is an outreach moment for this team as well, to be able to present to you. So thank you for doing this. And I hope everyone got a lot out of this session. And as always, we've recorded this session. It will be posted after the symposium is over sometime next week on GeorgiaFIRST.org website. Your next sessions will start at 10. So you'll go out to GeorgiaFIRST.org and find your next session to join. But big round of applause. I'm not going to clap because I don't want to make you hear that, but I'm clapping in my head for you guys. So great job. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We really enjoyed presenting, and we really hope that we were able to give any advice that we can. I know last year was really hard for us, and now that we're, slowly getting back to some kind of normal, hopefully this can help out. And we really appreciate everyone's time for listening in.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Also, thank you for giving us the opportunity to share. Thank you.